In the farthest reach of known space, past the relics of old empires and the broken bridges of collapsed wormholes, there existed a tomb of memory etched into the skin of a forgotten moon. That moon, black and ancient, bore the great citadel of House Varynn, keepers of extinction, guardians of memory. Wrapped in silence and bound in lightless gravity, House Varynn stood sentinel not over life, but over the end of it. Here, in caverns that echoed the thoughts of dead species, knowledge lived like a ghost. Elysia Voss had been haunted by dreams all her life. Not nightmares, dreams of languages she had never heard spoken aloud, of symbols etched in light and emotion, and voices that did not speak but resonated. These dreams led her to study lost tongues, forgotten scripts, and eventually the ancient Sarathi Codex, a script so alien and dead that even the galactic lexicon had declared it myth. When a signal encoded in Sarathi appeared from deep space, calling out an impossible syntax, it wasn't surprising she was the only one who could read it. It said, "We remember. Come now." Her journey aboard the diplomatic cruiser, Seraphic Whisper, was filled with isolation and doubt. Many warned her it was a trap, that House Varynn was a black hole of madness and silence. But she was compelled, not by reason, but by resonance. The closer she drew to the coordinates, the more her dreams sharpened, as if some ancient part of her blood remembered this place. Upon arrival, the moon appeared dead, inert, until the gates opened. Giant stone arcs shifted in slow elegance, forming a passage through a landscape unchanged in eons. She stepped into a cathedral of thought. The Varynn archive was not a library. It was a living entity of carved stone, suspended platforms, and flowing memory streams. Lights moved without source, voices whispered without sound. Each night she passed, towering beings in obsidian armor bowed not in submission, but in reverent acknowledgement. They were not welcoming her. They were recognizing her. And when she unfurled the Sarathi Codex in the grand hall, glyphs on the walls lit up like 1,000 suns, remembering her as one of their own. Talryn, first among the Varynn, emerged from a shrine of silence. He did not speak, but through shared neural frequencies communicated entire libraries of history in a moment. He showed her visions, stars dying in silence, species recording their last moments, civilizations willingly turning over their final breath to the Varynn. This was no vault of weapons or technology. It was the memory of the galaxy, unbroken, unedited, absolute. The codex she carried was not merely a key, it was a seed, and it had returned home. Elysia began experiencing overlaps. Moments when she would speak in ancient languages or walk corridors as if she had always known them. She encountered the Thought Lion, a creature of cosmic memory with the shape of a beast and the presence of a sage. It followed her, never speaking, never leaving. She realized it was a memory guardian, an entity born of millions of final thoughts fused into a living form. It showed her memory spirals, holographic echoes of species like the Hyrith, the Shavari, and the lost Celestines. She wept and learned. Then came Sarun, the exile. Once a Varynn knight, now a heretic with scarred armor and eyes burning with corrupted knowledge. He believed the archive was a prison. That memory was a chain. He had stolen fragments from extinct cultures and rewoven them into lies. His ambition was to reshape truth itself, to give his version of history dominion. Elysia confronted him in a duel of thought, where words were weapons and memory was battlefield. He tried to unmake her, feed her false memories, bend her will. But the Codex had chosen her. Truth had weight. Her bond with the Codex, now complete, allowed her to channel pure memory, unfiltered, painful, and eternal. In their confrontation, She summoned the fall of the Serathi, the betrayal of the Skarn kings, and the sorrow of the last Thol priestess. Sarun faltered beneath the burden of what he denied. He screamed not in pain, but in denial. And Talren struck him down, not with blade, but with remembrance. Sarun was sealed in the vault of echoes, where liars faced their own falsehoods in eternity. The Varynn Council, once silent for millennia, spoke through light and resonance. They offered Elysia the title of mnemonic queen. She refused. She was no ruler. Instead, she became the mnemonic root, a living bridge between the dead and the yet-to-be-born. Her own memories were inscribed into the codex, her childhood fears, her quiet joys, her human flaws. They were accepted not as history, but as humanity. The codex responded. It evolved. Glyphs now shifted with emotion. Sentences rearranged according to the heart of the reader. Ambassadors began to arrive. Species once at war shared neural links through the codex. The archive had become a medium for peace, a sacred place where memory was not weaponized but shared. The thought lion roared across star channels, summoning distant outposts to return their forgotten stories. Even synthetic beings, once dismissed as data mimics, were allowed to share. Their memories, it turned out, were the clearest of all. For the first time, a galactic language was born, not of words, but of shared truths. Elysia remained on Varynn for decades, guiding the evolution of the Codex. Talren and his knights became ambassadors of memory, traveling not with ships, but with dreams. They entered the minds of dying elders, capturing their essence. Memory towers were constructed on war-torn worlds. Children grew up knowing the stories of 1,000 species. And when they dreamed, they saw her, standing in golden halls, hand outstretched, inviting them to remember together, but all things end, even memory. One day, Elysia walked into the Void Garden, a place at the center of the moon where no memory was allowed. She entered alone, leaving behind the Codex, the Thought Lion, and the galaxy she had helped heal. What happened next was never recorded. But weeks later, a new section of the Codex appeared, written in a language no one could translate. Scholars believe it was her final message, not meant to be read, but to be felt. Talren continued to watch the stars. The Knights of Varynn stood in silence, no longer as wardens, but as guardians of the shared soul of the cosmos. And when a new linguist appeared, bearing fragments of forgotten dialects, the gates of the moon opened once more. The archive, after all, was never meant to close. It was alive. It waited. The Codex now pulses in the heart of every Varynn archive tower scattered across the galaxy. It whispers not only of endings, but of beginnings. New languages emerge, new species are born, and every story, no matter how small, finds its way into the great symphony of remembrance. The silence that once defined House Varynn is gone. In its place is a song composed by the dead, carried by the living, and heard by the stars themselves.